Hey guys, Jeff here. As promised, here is the little Q&A Zoom I did with a subscriber of mine. She had some questions around the topic of starting and running a nonprofit. So we cover a few different things. So check out this Zoom. Don't forget, check out my All About Rescue playlist. They have other videos in there and content surrounding starting a nonprofit, running a nonprofit. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Take a peek around my channel if you like what you see. Subscribe to my channel and let me know if there's any content you'd like to see. So let's get right to it. This is pretty much, whatever questions you have. Just so you know, when I speak, I just speak how it's in my head. So I try not to be abrasive when I speak, but it's just how I talk when it comes to my head to shoot it out. If I don't know something, I'll just say I don't know. I'm not gonna give you any kind of line of crap because that doesn't help you or me. So, but I'll do my best to answer any questions you have about starting or running a nonprofit. So why don't you tell me a little bit about the type of nonprofit you want to run?
So I've been doing a lot of research and then I came across your page actually. And I want to run a nonprofit helping animals. I'm not sure exactly of my niche yet. I know that you specify in mainly pit bulls. Um, so I don't want to have an actual physical location from the jump. I just want to start out and I just wanted to get to know more about how I can run an animal nonprofit without having an actual physical location. I would like to start off smaller and yeah, so ever since I was younger, I just love animals. I've had dogs my whole life. And I just feel like the line of work that I'm in now, it's not necessarily what I want to do. And I feel like my calling and my purpose is to help animals. So I just really want to get started on that. And I've just been researching information everywhere. And there's not much on how to start an animal nonprofit, which is crazy to me. But I'm really happy that you're actually here and you're willing to answer my questions. So that's a little bit about what I want to do. That was actually one of my questions. If you feel it's necessary to have a niche to kind of narrow it down.
No, so my wife and I, our rescue, Pity Rescue, is geared towards pit bulls, but in our bylaws and even in our policies, we don't discriminate because we just felt that kind of defeats the purpose of being pit bull advocates. Why would we discriminate? Because we're so discriminated against as pit bull owners, right? So to make you'll get a kick out of this. So. And I don't even know if I said this in my video. My wife and I were in rescue for about 8 years before we founded Pity Rescue. And we founded Pity Rescue in 2010. And the first animal that we officially took in under Pity Rescue was a guinea pig.
Oh my God. I forgot where I saw that somewhere on one of your platforms. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, so technically, the very first animal we rescued, Pity Rescue rescued, was a guinea pig. So that's the running joke. So you don't need a niche, really. I mean, if you want to do cats, do cats. If you want to do dogs. Depending on where you live, especially if you're going to be. I always recommend people start being foster based, so you don't have to have a facility. And you're coming from New York to New Jersey, right?
Yeah, so the plans are in the near future is to move out to Jersey. But for now, I would like to get it started and start in New York.
Yeah, so New York and New Jersey, and I'm in North Carolina now, but I'm from Jersey originally, obviously. But the laws are similar as far as running a shelter facility, because that's what you would need to be to have a rescue in a facility. You would technically be a shelter or a shelter facility or a kennel, which is a whole different set of rules and regulations. When you're a small foster-based rescue, you might start out, you and a couple of your friends, you might save a couple of cats or dogs from wherever, and you're fostering them in your home, and while you're trying to look for a forever home for them. Most of the rescues, even today, most of my rescue friends, they're all foster based. Nobody has a facility. It's usually like the big conglomerates, the ASPCA's of the world that have actual facilities. And they're shelters, and there's a whole bunch of different services they offer to the community as far as animal control and things along those lines. But starting your nonprofit is the easy part, especially when it's foster based, because you just have to have a good sound contract between you and your volunteers. Have decent insurance, is like $400 or $500 a year, depending on the level of insurance you get. And then having a good adoption process and a good adoption contract to protect yourself liability wise. Because whether you're adopting out a Chihuahua or a Labrador, you want to make sure you protect yourself too. But
Right.
yeah, you could definitely start small. I mean, right now I'm not even as knee deep in direct rescue efforts. I do training for rescues and I partner with a lot of rescues. But pity rescue right now, we only have 3 dogs now. We started scaling back. We're getting older now. We've been in rescue for 21 years now.
Wow.
And so it wears on you a little bit, but I physically can't do what I used to be able to foster 5 or 6 dogs in my own home, in
Oh, in your
addition to my 5 or 6 dogs, because I was younger, I had the energy. We had our lives were a little different back then. We had more people to help us. We're older now. We're slowing down a little. So we're doing what we can. What's that?
circumstances change throughout the years.
Yeah, so I'm still, I still want to be in rescue. I still want to contribute, and I still do what I can to the best of my ability. I just try not to overwhelm myself anymore, because I've done that too. So starting small, nothing wrong with that. It's easy.
What if you're not able to foster in your own home? Is there a way to like maybe find people that are willing to foster, so when you do get the animals, or like you are like aware of them and you get them and you like put them out in different foster homes? Is that an option?
Yeah. I mean, I've had rescue friends that they couldn't foster dogs in their own homes because of the behavior levels of their own animals, whether it was a dog that doesn't like other dogs or cats or whatever. So yeah, a lot of them, they just have a foster network, and their fosters are they're volunteers of the rescue. So let's say you saw a little Fido at the shelter, and you want to save her, his life. You can, reach out and say, hey, I have this dog I want to save. Can anyone foster him? That's what a lot of people do. The other way is try and solicit a few people, even 1 or 2 people for now, that are willing to foster for you. And based on what their home is, you can dictate what dog you can take. So let's say, you have a friend who, has a little dog, but you doesn't, let's say they live in a condo where they can't have dogs over 40 pounds, right? So you could go rescue a dog under 40 pounds and have your friend foster until you find it a forever home. And then what people don't understand too is, foster homes it's not like a bunch of dogs running loose in the house. Sometimes when you rescue a dog, they have to be separated from the resident animals. Right. And that's twofold. Sometimes for safety, sometimes you might be crate training a dog or doing some training in that regard where it can't be left alone unsupervised and has to be crated. So it depends on the environment that is going to foster the dog, that could help you decide which dog or cat to rescue initially.
Okay, yeah, because that's something that I think I'd want to do, just because right now in New York, my apartment is super small and I do have a dog. She's 25 pounds. I'm not really sure what breed she is. But I rescued her from Puerto Rico during the pandemic, and she's really good temperament wise with other dogs, super friendly, still acts like a puppy. She's 2 years old, but it's just not ideal to have another animal in the home because it's so small. So that's what I would love to do, is basically do that. So that goes into one of my other questions is so like you kind of somewhat answered it. How do you find foster homes? So I would just like go around and like ask people and see, like just post, I guess, on different maybe platforms and see who's a foster and.
Yeah, the best way to do it is people you know initially and that are in close proximity, because there's gonna be a learning curve for you, and you want to be able to meet the animal at first. Well, I mean, I have friends that have been in rescue for years, and they find fosters in various states, sometimes across the country. I wouldn't recommend you go that route initially. I would recommend you keep it local and simple. But you could certainly solicit fosters on social media. I would strongly suggest you start with your friends, and even with your friends, you make them fill out a volunteer application. You make them sign a liability waiver. It doesn't matter that they're your friend. I don't care if it's your sister or your brother or your cousin or whatever.
Everybody goes through that process, no matter what.
Okay, and not many people know this about me. Okay, I got sued once, not me personally, but Pity Rescue got sued once, and the last words a person that was volunteering was caring for a dog was. There was an issue with the feeding process. The dog got freaked out and bit the person, okay? So obviously we went to the hospital to make sure that we got medical treatment. The last words I ever heard from them were, "Don't worry, I'm not gonna sue you, I'm not an asshole." They sued me. That was the last word I ever heard from them. And they were friends. It was a friend.
Wow.
Yeah, so don't ever underestimate, especially in today's litigious society. Make sure
everything covered, all angles.
What's that?
Yeah, you always have to have all angles covered. It doesn't matter. I respect that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and I mean, yeah, it's just do it. Trust me. It's better for you. And if you're soliciting from people, maybe an acquaintance or someone you don't even know, how I process volunteers as if they were adopting an animal from me. I'm happy to share all my documentation. It's actually on Pity Rescue's website. We have our volunteer application, we have our contract, we have our adoption. Everything's up there. You're welcome to go steal it.
So I had some notes, and I saw that you said that you have like the PDFs there for like the different applications. Thank you.
Yeah, it's some people get all territorial. I'm like, we need more good rescues. Why aren't we helping each other?
Right. We don't have the same goal. It's helping. It's not a competition.
Yeah, I mean, and that's funny about goals. When people ask me what your goal, our goal as animal rescuers is to go out of business because there's no more animals to rescue.
Right.
That's our goal. Right? It's the only business model in the world where your goal is to go out of business. But yeah, so you feel free to steal any documents. Obviously, we're in communication now too, and I'll share my cell phone number with you privately. When we hang up from here too. But yeah, start small. It's best to start with a couple of people that at least you have some familiarity with, or are at least in close proximity to you. And remember, you just have to start with one animal. That's it. Right? You could start with one. There's no minimum or maximum number of foster homes that you can have. So, and you're in New York right now. So, once you become a rescue, you'd be surprised. The animals just find you.
Yeah, that's for sure. Me and my friend years ago, we've rescued like cats and not different animals. Yeah, like a couple of cats, and like she was initially like the one that she was like, oh my God, like I have to save them. And they actually lived in the building where I used to live. Well, they didn't live, they would hang around there. She's like, I have to save them. So we like rescued them. But I've never really rescued a dog, but that's what I'm like, my heart is drawn to. So that's what I want to stick to. And yeah, definitely. I want to start off with one. And then once people get the word, like the word gets out, like I'm a rescue or, network-based foster, whatever it's called, the actual term. I feel like
Foster-based, yeah.
start coming in. Yeah. So
Yeah.
another question I know that you're a trainer. Um, being a rescue, would I have to have access to trainers, or would I just try to find the best fit for the home, like the best fit for the dog, to go into the home?
Yeah, I mean, it, the one thing about people who adopt animals, they generally understand that the animal's not going to be perfect and there's going to be some work that needs to be done. As long as you're completely honest with people and disclose to them to make sure you set appropriate expectations, like oh, this one knows sit, comes when called, walks okay on the leash, but we're still working through housebreaking issues, so it might need to be crate trained. Having access to trainers is always a good thing, but for basics, I mean, I'm more than happy to help you any way I can remotely. But I mean, YouTube has a lot of great basic training videos. I have training videos on my channel. I have I have two videos in particular that I use a lot. One is about decompression, how it takes dogs a certain amount of time to decompress into a new environment.
Oh, right.
And then I have another one, it's an hour long, on crate training, which are like two of the biggest reasons why people give up on pets is they don't give them enough time and they don't crate train them. And the dog is either peeing and crapping all over the house or destroying things when all they needed to do was crate train the dog and problem solved.
Right.
So there's a lot of resources to help you navigate that. I don't mind being one. Again, I'm not territorial. I don't care. I'll help anyone who wants to do the right thing. If someone wants to do the wrong thing, then the jersey is going to come out of me, but that's a whole other thing.
They had it coming.
That's right. Yeah. So, yeah, but you'd be surprised once you start networking and, depending on where you are, I might even have trainer friends that I can connect you with. Let's say one of your foster homes is struggling with something because, you're going to do fundraising and stuff, and you might need a trainer to go make a visit. But right now, right, your network is one, at least right now, right? Because you got me and I have a lot of contacts. So, and that's how it goes. So, but yeah, I wouldn't let that be a deterrent. And plus, if you're going to start with smaller dogs, maybe maybe it's a dog that is sweet but just needs some basic training. It's nothing overwhelming. You don't want to go take a 120-pound Rottweiler that has a bite history,
Right. Especially me as not being a trainer, like maybe for you that would be a different story, and because you have actual space like at your house where you foster a couple of them, so it would be different. But I know over time I would want to like eventually build it up, and who knows what the future holds, and maybe it will get to that point where I'm able to actually foster them in my home, or maybe I'll even pick up on training here and there. Another question was how do you find so all right, we went through the foster homes. So I remember in one of your videos, I think with the other couple from Japan, that they were wanting to also open a rescue. Um so how would I find like their forever homes? I know you mentioned like pet finders, or I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. Would you just
Yeah.
post them and like market them and like on other social media platforms?
Yep. Petfinder.com, adoptapet.com. Obviously, social media is a huge approach to it. Having your own website is okay, but people don't go to websites anymore, really. I mean,
Yeah, everything is Google searching up what platforms.
Right. So, I mean, having a Facebook page, Instagram page, putting your adoptable dogs up on TikTok, cute little videos, because from there you could share the cute little videos on other platforms or IG, whatever. You promote them any way you can, right? The main thing is that your adoption, your screening and vetting process is sound. If you have a sound screening and vetting process, you're more likely to place the dog in a forever home. And even then, there's no guarantees. Sometimes people, bail and change their mind and return dogs, but But yeah, I mean, just so you solicit your animals. This is going to sound a little crazy, and I hope it doesn't come across in a negative way. People who know me, but you almost have to view them as a product, right? You're marketing a dog or a cat, right? It's marketing. You want to get the word out, right? If you want to sell a new drink, you're going to talk about all the good things about this drink and what it does for people and why they want it. You're going to do the same thing about your dog. The only thing I suggest is you also touch on the things that they need to work on. Like, again, being honest and transparent sets the potential adopter or foster, sets their expectations, right? They know what they're getting into, and you're more likely to be able to work through any issues. And then when you create, what's that?
Yeah, because that could help from not having them get sent back from their homes, and then it's just even more traumatizing, and that's what we're trying to eliminate for the dog. So I know we touched a little bit on how do you find animals to foster. So I know you kind of mentioned like in shelters or so is that like your main, like what is your main what's the word for
Yeah, how to find animals to save. So there's two ways that you could take in owner surrenders, meaning people who are surrendering their animals, or you could make create relationships with a local shelter and save animals from the shelter. When you're first starting out, you're not going to be a 501c3 right away. You're just going to be a nonprofit. So some shelters will only partner with 501c3 rescues. So you may have a hard time doing that. But again, if it's a local shelter and they know you, and you could probably work around that. But you could also do owner surrenders. The only thing with owner surrenders is they do not tell you everything.
Oh yeah, I think they do. They're leaving something out.
They're leaving something out, so just tread carefully as far as owner surrenders go.
And how do you, like, they just would come to you like as you put yourself out there as being a rescue and taking in animals?
Owners or shelters?
Owners, like yeah.
Yeah, they might, or they might hear from a friend that, oh, hey, Tiffany started her own rescue. Oh, really? My friend Danielle needs to find a home for her cockapoo. Like, it'll be word of mouth at first. Trust me, they'll find you. And in the meantime, you can always, again, if you're in New York, whether it's you don't have to disclose where you live, but whatever county or borough you're in, there's going to be somewhere for you to go to introduce yourself and start and establish a relationship.
Because my sister, I'm actually from Yonkers, Westchester County. So I'm pretty embedded in the community already. My sister actually runs a 501(c) nonprofit mental health organization over here. So I help her a lot. I volunteer a lot with her organization. So I do know a lot of people and a lot of other organizations and stuff in the community. So I feel like that would help it get out there too. As being a foster, so once I send a dog to a foster home, what expenses will that come with? So would I have to continuously like provide like food, toys, like shots, and if like the animal gets sick and has to go to the vet, that would come from the nonprofit, correct?
Yeah, generally that's, when we're soliciting fosters, all expenses are paid by us. Okay. Now you'd be surprised. Some fosters, they might buy food and that would be like a donation. But vet care, training, supplies, that's our responsibility. If a foster home wants to chip in, accept it, because it's a donation. And then once you're 501c3, they can write off any donations to your rescue as well. So there are tax benefits to them as well. But, most fosters are buying treats and biscuits and toys for their foster dogs anyway.
Right.
But you might find one that maybe isn't in the best financial situation to be that, to have that capacity to buy stuff. So it always falls back on us. It's every cost, everything is our responsibility. That's at least my view on it.
Okay. And how about, would you recommend like getting donations before actually taking in like the first animal to foster, just in case when we do place them in the foster home that they do need vet care or anything of that sort, so there are funds to actually support them?
Yeah, as soon as you establish a nonprofit, you can start soliciting donations. But until you're 501c3, your donors can't write it off. But you could fundraise, yeah. Especially if you're
write it off until it's actual 501, correct?
Yeah, I think it's 17 months. You have 17 months to establish to get your 501c3, and then anyone who donated within that 17-month period, they can retroactively write it off on their taxes. So it's very possible that someone who donated to you in 2023 might not write it off until 2025, for instance.
Oh.
Because if it takes you that long to get your 501c3, so like if they donated today, but you don't get your 501c3 until January of next year, then that's the thing, because they need to have that for for tax. I'm not an accountant, but that's kind of the gist of how that would work. But you could certainly solicit donations right away. So.
Oh. And what do you do in regard to like fundraising? So you do like events or something like that, or do you like apply to grants?
Yeah, so it's probably a little different now because everything is so focused online, right? There's online fundraisers, people do online tricky trays, online raffles, but there's still people who go to like street fairs and will set up a table. You might have somebody who has some kind of skill or trade, or is an artist or something, where they want to do an event and some of the proceeds benefit your rescue. I know a lot of my friends, they actually do like gala events where they'll rent out like a restaurant or something, or like a catering hall, and they'll have almost like kind of like a wedding, but it's just a dinner fundraiser, and they'll have items for sale or for bidding. You might have, my dogs are going nuts right now. You could do like events like that, and you could certainly apply for grants. I am not sure how the grant process works until you're you might not be able to apply for a grant without being 501c3.
And I've seen that some of them they specify that only like some of them like nonprofits can apply, but then some of them are strictly until you're 501c3.
Right. Yeah.
The fine print.
Yeah, and then there's like, we don't, because we only have a few dogs in our rescue right now. I haven't actively done any huge fundraising. In fact, I think my wife, me, and my sister, you ever see the Facebook fundraisers?
Yeah.
That we each do a fundraiser around our birthday, the birthday fundraisers, and that pretty much cares for the dogs, for whatever I need, because I don't need to bank money for the nonprofit. I just need enough to care for the dogs, which we always spend our own money anyway. It is right. What it is. You wind up spending some of your own money, especially early on. That's okay. So that, and then sometimes we do some local events where, we've partnered with other rescues on a couple of events, and we've done we've split some of the donations of the event or whatever. But if you're already part of the community as far as your sister's organization, so you guys might be able to do some kind of joint venture where.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I'm now actually thinking and it clicking. I'm like, wait, that's like a perfect way, because I'm always at the community events, and like you said, they have tables and all of that. Like, I'd be able to set up there as well, and I'm sure a lot of people will support the cause.
Yeah, you could set up depending if it's a street fair or something, especially with nice weather coming, sometimes they don't even charge nonprofits. But if it's, a smaller type of thing, you might have to pay $25, $50 for for a table or a tent or whatever. And, you know, you set up a little table with your information. If you have a dog up for
exposure and the networking
yeah.
opportunities.
And if you have a dog available for adoption, you know, you could bring the dog to the event with you and maybe find an adopter too. So,
Right. Yeah.
yep.
Also, this is last question.
Sure.
How long is a dog able to stay at a foster home for? Is there a certain time limit?
No. So I've historically told people fostering is temporary, but don't put a time limit on it either.
Okay.
Right? Because if people think temporary, that they think they're going to be fostering this dog for a couple of weeks, that's not always the case.
Right.
You know, fosters, I mean, most dogs, most rescues, I would say like 5-6 months is a long time. I personally have had a dog in our rescue for 4 years.
Wow.
And ultimately we found her a forever home. She was kind of with us, you know, because she was with us so long, she got a little special treatment just to help enrich her life and keep her sane. But we you know, we ultimately found her a home. I've had other rescue. What's that?
I'd want to keep her at that point, like 4 years. Like I wouldn't want to let her go.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes. You do fall in love with them, but you do have to be you know, you have to, you know, because we adopt our animals too, and you have to be mindful of your own capacity
Right.
and sanity, right? But we, you know, yeah, and you know, we were in a position where, you know, because we had a shop. My wife and I had a holistic pet shop up in Jersey. So we had a lot of space there. It was right around the block from our house. So sometimes we had fosters at home. Sometimes we had fosters at the shop. Sometimes we rotated them just to, you know, so they got home life exposure and things like that. But yeah, don't put a time limit on it. Plus, you know, when you're, you know, adopting out pit bulls, especially the way we historically have done it, we have been extremely strict. So it's not like some of the dogs that were with us for a long time didn't have opportunity. We just didn't approve the adopters.
Right.
Because I'd rather them stay with me than go somewhere where it wasn't going to be a good fit. And not that they were necessarily bad people, but just weren't prepared for a high energy, powerful breed.
Yes, that's true. And would you
You know?
would you check up on the foster homes and also with the forever homes once placed there?
Yeah, the foster homes you should be in constant contact with. You know, maybe daily at first, make sure the dog is settling in okay, but every couple of days, maybe once a week or whatever. And because the foster homes are going to know the dog better than you.
Right.
Because they're going to be living with the dog. So you need to rely on them for information. As far as adopters, yeah, I've always followed up. Some of my adopters were actually really good friends 20 years later. We've maintained our friendship. The dogs are long gone, but we're still friends. You know, and then with Pity Rescue being founded in 2010, we're at the point now where some of those dogs are recently passing away, and I'm still friends with them. You know, and some you keep in touch with, but then just like sometimes you fall out of touch with. In fact, I had this one guy. What's that?
Once you know they're safe and they're good to go, it's like, okay, I could let you live now.
Yeah. And I had this one guy, he didn't even adopt a pit bull. We had this little tiny fuzzball mutt. And you know, we kept in touch probably the first year or two. And then you know, after maybe the first year or two. And then every year on Christmas, I would get a text message from him with a picture of the dog.
Oh
like
my God.
clockwork. It was every Christmas. He always said, "Merry Christmas, Jeff. Here's a picture." The dog passed away last year, actually. But we did stay in contact. So sometimes, because they know that we're busy too, dealing with the current set of animals we have. But fosters, definitely constant communication. Adopters, initial periodic checkups with maybe, you know, maybe once a year, or hey, how things are going or whatever, just to say hello.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm gonna take a look at the app applications that you have on your website just to get a little better feel for that and see how that is. I really appreciate you taking out the time to answer my questions.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry about the little technical difficulties here, but
No, it's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. I'll when we hang up, I'll shoot you my cell phone on IG. So if it's a quick question, you could always text me. If you want to chat about something real quick, just whatever I can do to help, totally fine by me.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it so much. I'm super excited. This really gave me more insight, and I'm like really, really, really excited to get started. And I'm gonna do it. It's been something that's been on my mind for a while now, and I've kind of like just let it go, and I'm just like, nope, it keeps coming back, so it's gonna get done.
Good. And you're not alone. I'm here. And you're going to get other rescue friends along the way. So you're not alone.
Thank you. That means a lot.
You got it. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Talk to you soon. Have a good evening.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.